Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
You're about to listen to a historical episode of Dark Poutine. After episode 149, you will find Scott is no longer with the show. In an effort to maintain continuity and offer listeners as many episodes as possible, we are leaving the episodes in which he co-hosted intact. Thank you.
Welcome to Dark Poutine. I'm Mike Brown, creator and host. Back from Walkabout in Australia is my good friend and co-host, Scott Hemingway. Say hello, Scott.
Yeah, good day, mate.
Uh-oh. That's just going to be this for the whole podcast now.
Yeah, I reckon.
Oh. All right, that's the end of this episode. Oh, God. He's giggling.
Like a schoolgirl.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of Curious Cast, its affiliate Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment. Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on any of the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're just two ordinary Canadians chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, grab yourself a double-double and an Nanaimo bar. Yes, you get dessert first. It's time to scarf down some dark poutine. Episode 55. Here we are.
Woo!
55.
Woo-woo!
This case is one of the most famous missing child cases in Canadian history.
Yeah, I still have lots of vivid memories about this.
It's a case that has haunted Canadians since March 24th, 1991. You've probably seen his face many times in missing photos, posters, online, or in television shows.
Yep.
One poster in particular has always stood out to me. On it is a photo of a cherubic 4-year-old boy with blonde hair and blue eyes wearing a blue coat with red trim.
Mm-hmm.
In his hands, he proudly holds freshly caught fish.
Yep.
The bold headline above him in all caps reads, "Missing." The look on his face is the epitome of innocence. At the bottom of the poster is the boy's name, Michael Dunahee.
Yeah.
And the caption reads, "Last seen March 24th, 1991, at Blanchard School Playground, Victoria, British Columbia."
Yeah, that poster, much like what you said, it's stuck in my head the whole time. Like I'm looking at it now, but I remember it till this day.
Yeah. This is Where is Michael Dunahee? Every parent's worst nightmare. We've talked about that before.
Yep. Yeah, it's as I've talked about many a time, it's probably my biggest fear.
Yeah, having one of your kids or both or go missing.
Yeah. Anytime I let them go play outside in the playground alone, these things are always on the back of my mind. But yet I have to try to not make sure that I keep my kids in a bubble because of that fear. But yet it's there with me. It lingers all the time.
On the afternoon of Sunday, March 24th, 1991, Crystal and Bruce Dunahee got their young family ready to head out. Michael Dunahee was 4, and his sister Caitlin was 6 months old at the time. The family was off to watch Crystal play in a touch football league on the field at Blanchard Elementary School at 950 Kings Road in Victoria. They piled into the car and headed off toward the field, picking up a teammate of Crystal's along the way. Michael was a playful and outgoing boy. He'd been playing with friends that morning and wanted to continue socializing. Michael knew that there was a playground nearby and would have friends to play with whose parents were also playing football on the adjacent field. Michael asked if he could play at the playground while Crystal played football. Crystal told him he'd have to wait for an answer until they got there. When they arrived, Crystal noticed other kids playing on the monkey bars, swings, and slide at the small playground. It was windy, so Crystal did up Michael's jacket and put on his hood. She told him to stay only in the playground and not go anywhere else until his dad came over to get him. Michael ran off to the playground, excited to see the other kids. Crystal, Bruce, Caitlin, and Crystal's friend Donna gathered up the football equipment and made their way to the football field 100 meters away. As soon as they arrived, Crystal started putting on her cleats, and Bruce made his way back to the playground to check on Michael. When Bruce arrived at the playground, he couldn't find Michael anywhere. Michael was gone. In those brief few minutes, Michael Dunahee had simply vanished.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with my foot twitching from anxiety. Just as you're reading that, I am putting myself in those parents' shoes.
It was literally their backs were just turned for, it seemed like moments, I'm sure, to them.
Yeah, and it's something that parents probably replay, not even those who've had it happen to them, but we play those scenarios through in our head. And so when reading one that actually happened, I think a lot of parents can really kind of get anxious, like as I am, just sitting here shaking and my God, I can't even really articulate it.
Victoria is the capital of BC, and it's a small, quiet, laid-back city on Vancouver Island. We had a meet up there.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love the island.
I love it, too. It's only accessible by ferry, boat, or plane. A 4-year-old disappearing without a trace is a big deal to that community. It would be even today.
Yep.
Did Michael just wander off? Police and volunteers from all over Victoria started looking for Michael as soon as Bruce and Crystal raised the alarm. They just simply went to the community police station just at the southeast corner of the school grounds. Here's a report from Global News Archives from the day after Michael's disappearance. Note, it mistakenly says that Bruce was playing touch football, but we now know that it was Crystal, a detail that might have been missed in the panic early on to find Michael.
The most distinguishing feature is his age. Michael Dunahee is only 4.
He was wearing pants cut out of this material, and they're a rugby-style pants, and his jacket is a solid blue, this shade of blue, and it's got red trim on it down on the cuffs, and it's got red inside lining in it.
Bruce Dunahee was playing in a touch football tournament yesterday behind Blanchard Elementary School. That's where his son went missing during the noon hour. Police are talking to children who regularly play there. An RCMP search helicopter fitted with heat-seeking equipment flies low over the neighborhood on the west side of the city.
So let's head up there and break off into our 2 vehicles.
An army of 100 searchers, sometimes as many as 200, looks everywhere, in the water, under bushes, and even in garbage cans. They're taking photographs of the boy door to door, hoping someone has seen him. There have been 3 searches of the immediate area.
So we're having an ongoing search right now, so if maybe you can talk to some of your neighbors or any friends or anything.
Have you put the bus stops like the ferry terminals?
Not yet, to my knowledge.
Oh, geez, they should have done that hours ago.
They might have. I don't know.
Are they on the ferries now?
It's a search which has captured the interest of everyone. The effort has been non-stop.
To have everybody, if they could, just take a look out in their own backyards and maybe their neighbors' backyards and check down the basements. He might have crawled in overnight, got cold. He's a good walker. He walks quite the distance, 2-3 miles is nothing for him to walk, so he could be just about anywhere. He's more than likely a little hungry too. Appreciate all the help.
An escalated police effort has another 15 officers searching from house to house. There have been several apparent sightings, including the report of a couple and a child getting into a car in the area where Michael went missing. All have proved false. Anyone with information should call Victoria Police.
Oh, it's chilling.
Bruce was describing Michael's outfit with the aid of visuals, so we'll give you a bit more of a detailed description of Michael Wayne Dunahee and what he was wearing that day. But I will link to the video in our show notes so you can have a look for yourself.
Yeah, do it. It'll be great.
Michael was last seen wearing a blue hooded jacket with red lining and red cuffs, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt, multicolored rugby pants, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles underpants, and blue sneakers. His date of birth is May 12, 1986. He's been missing since March 24, 1991. He's missing from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Characteristics: Michael was starting to show freckles when he disappeared. Eyes blue, hair blonde, and at the time of his disappearance, he was 3 feet tall and weighed approximately 51 pounds.
All those descriptions combined with his age of 4 is just like, as I think you said earlier, the epitome of innocence. Like that age, there's nothing corrupt.
No,
it's just
absolutely not.
It's just pure goodness and kindness. And oh God,
Michael's disappearance was initially treated as though he'd just wandered off. Kids get lost all the time. I remember our neighbor Lynn. I've talked about that before. She wandered off, and she was just found hanging out with a safe with a friend at a house, and just neglected to call her parents. There was no sign of Michael. Cops changed their thinking quickly. It was starting to appear as though Michael Dunahee had not just wandered away.
Yeah.
The thought was now abduction.
Oh, jeez.
The kids at the playground were of no real help. One 10-year-old girl who'd been playing hide-and-seek in the playground said she saw Michael get into a shiny brown van, but then her story didn't seem to make sense to investigators. I don't know, you have kids of that age?
Yep.
And, you know, maybe under the pressure of being questioned by police, they might get their facts wrong or get mixed up.
It's difficult to say. I mean, eyewitness reports from adults are difficult to substantiate and often not accurate.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Jim Clementi, the FBI profiler, says eyewitness accounts are usually the worst.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of programs where they have tried to do examples on how easy it is for people to be inaccurate, and it's quite substantial. But yeah, so then you add to it like being 10, and it's very difficult to take any eyewitness reports from a 10-year-old and have absolute belief this is accurate.
Yeah, for sure. Here's some more audio from the Global News Archives from day 2 of Michael being missing.
4-year-old Michael Dunahee was playing hide-and-seek just meters from his parents when he disappeared Sunday afternoon. He was last seen with 2 other children in a Blanchard Street playground on Victoria's west side. There was an immediate search of the area. By Sunday night, hundreds of volunteers were looking for the boy, but the search turned up little, and by Monday, a police helicopter with heat-seeking equipment was dispatched to check the local woods. Coast Guard officials used their resources, including Zodiacs, to comb a nearby waterway. The search was aborted last night with no trace, and police say they now think Michael was abducted from the schoolyard where he was playing. The investigation has taken a turn.
Because of the swiftness in which young Michael disappeared from the playground, the immediate search that was launched that failed to turn up anything, and then the comprehensive search that was launched by the rescue organization, we're quite satisfied at this point in time that young Michael has been abducted.
Victoria authorities are looking for a shiny brown van that witnesses say the child was near just before he went missing, and Michael's parents and the police are making a public plea for help.
Any person or persons that may well be involved in this, to think of what they're putting the parents through by taking young Michael in this fashion, and I would appeal to them that if they can, to certainly let young Michael go, and to contact the police or somebody to convey where we might find young Michael.
Anyone with any information about the missing 4-year-old is asked to contact the Victoria Police.
I wonder how differently this would play out this day and age in regards to technology is substantially different, and it's everywhere.
Yeah,
not to say
there'd probably be video of cars coming into the neighborhood.
Well, that's what, like, I was watching something while away on I can't remember the specifics. A father in the States who killed his wife and 2 children recently, and so like a lot of where they got evidence from was those door monitoring, Ring and whatnot.
Yeah,
and footage of him walking to and from his vehicle at times and stuff. So, like,
much like the Douglas Garland case.
Yeah, so it's not to say that it would have been solved or anything like that, or any different outcome, but it would have been interesting. Maybe somebody's door monitor caught a vehicle driving or something,
or Michael walking with somebody.
Yeah.
But
this scares the shit out of me.
As tips and leads came in, and there were many, police followed up on each one. Just in time to distract things and create even more of a panic, a child disappeared from a Duncan, BC grocery store, only to turn up with his mother at the police station next day. The mother was later charged with her own child's abduction. Sadly, this red herring, at just the wrong time, may have led investigators in the wrong direction, killing valuable time in finding Michael Dunahee.
Oh, yeah. Because it's such, those first few days are so crucial.
Michael's mother, Crystal, spoke out on the 3rd day since Michael's disappearance. Again, from Global News Archives, here's what she had to say.
They're still looking. No one's giving up, which is great to hear. We really appreciate everyone's support that's out there. And that's about all I can say. I don't know what else to say.
Do you have anything that you want to say to anyone who might have information or might be with Michael?
If they have any information on Michael's whereabouts, or if Michael is even watching, he must be aware that his parents love him very much, and we just would like to have him home.
Do you want to say anything directly to Michael if he is watching?
Michael, we love you. Do what you can to make it known that you don't want to stay there. You want to come home. Your family's here waiting for you.
And anything to say to someone who might have Michael?
Please take care of him. Send him home. He's a loved boy. We just want him home. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Incredibly well composed.
Yeah. Michael clearly comes from a hardworking, loving, honest, and stable middle-class family.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce and Crystal had been happily married since October 8th, 1983 at that time. And there was no family-motivated abduction.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be the most feared and hardest to solve of all abductions, non-family or stranger abduction.
Yeah.
Stranger abduction is a rare thing, especially in a safe city like Victoria. It was unheard of there in 1991. In 2013, according to missingkids.ca, across Canada, there were 33 reports made of stranger abductions in 2013. Stranger abductions included abductions made by strangers, relatives, and close friends. More female children, 19, than male children, 14, were reported missing. So 33 across Canada in 2013, and it probably trends, a few up and down from there. But
33 doesn't seem like a whole hell of a lot, but to those 33 parents,
from what I've read, stranger abduction is that rare everywhere.
Yeah, really?
All the statistics that I read,
yeah.
We kind of have the same, a tenth of their population. Interestingly,
yep.
It's a similar number in the U.S.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all what I was thinking, but that doesn't lessen the absolute terror.
Oh, the terror of having your child go missing,
Jesus.
For sure. In a Vancouver Sun article from March 28, 1991, one Vancouver Island woman claimed she'd seen a woman who had tried to abduct her child years before driving a brown VW van with a blonde-haired child beside her. She claimed the van had BC plates and had been parked in an alley near the school. Other than this article, this was the only mention of a VW modeled van or the fact that a woman was driving.
Yeah.
We're unsure this is a real, actual lead or not, but it was just something I read in the paper.
And you're going to get so many reports that are inaccurate, going to lead nowhere. So, I mean, it's got to be tough from the police side of things as to what to put their most attention into.
Yeah, we noticed that in the Nicole Morin case when we covered that one as well.
Yes.
It was just girl walks out the door, missing.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Poof. A team of 16 investigators were looking into every tip. On the 30th of March, the Vancouver Sun printed an article stating that $25,000 was being offered to have Michael Dunahee return safely. One anonymous woman donated $10,000 to the fund herself.
Oh, wow.
This article also was accompanied by a sketch of a man who'd been seen in the area. The police wanted to speak to him as a person of interest. From the article, police described the man as Caucasian male in his late 30s or early 40s who is almost bald. His short grayish hair is receding, very thin on top, and is combed to one side. He was described as having a large nose and prominent ears. He was wearing a gray rugby pants and a blue jacket with white stripes across the front. Police believe the man is between 163 and 170 centimeters tall. That's 5'4" to 5'7". He has a chubby build, weighing 68 kilograms, 150 pounds or more. And we're looking at the sketch of the guy right now.
You know who that sketch looks like to me?
Let's not say.
Well, no, it's a famous. It's Son of Sam.
He does kind of look like Son of Sam.
Yeah, he does.
A little bit.
I wasn't going to name, like, that looks like Brian, who we hang out.
Yeah, that would be bad. At that point, cops had their hands full with 950 tips, including 200 of just brown vans to look into alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Dunahee sightings were coming from the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island, and nearby Washington State.
Because there's a ferry from Victoria to Washington State.
And we will talk about that later.
Exactly.
By April 1st, less emphasis was being given to the brown van theory. A couple of sightings had been cleared up, turning out to be other children entirely. Police began to focus on finding anyone in the area who may have witnessed what happened on March 24th. The witness suspect in the sketch was still someone cops wanted to talk to desperately. More of a description of the man came out. Apparently he was very muscular and out of place in the neighborhood. His muscles bulged out of his rugby pants. Okay. And his jacket was medium blue with a single white stripe.
Okay.
Police had hypnotized a woman to get a license plate for a vehicle she'd seen in the area.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yep. There's going to be more of that.
Oh, great.
The reward grew to $40,000. Police were still optimistic that they would solve Michael's disappearance. On April 3rd, 1991, police used a helicopter to search an area near Souk, BC, but it was to no avail. Police at that time said they believed that Michael Dunahee's abductor might be someone who has recently lost a child of their own or cannot have one, or was looking to perhaps even buy a child.
Yeah, I remember that was a pretty heavy belief at the time, more so than we hear about now. At that time, there was a lot of belief in being abducted to be a part of a family.
Yeah, they didn't think that Michael was a target. They really believed that he was a crime of opportunity.
Yeah.
On April 5th, 1991, Michael Dunahee's story appeared on America's Most Wanted for the first time.
I watched it.
For those of you who don't remember the show, America's Most Wanted was hosted by John Walsh, father of Adam Walsh, abducted from a Florida mall in the 80s and later murdered. John Walsh has made a career of helping solve unsolved cases and, for obvious reason, has a soft spot for child abductions.
Well, and these two cases are always kind of paralleled in some ways for me in the sense of both children taken from a very public area.
Yeah.
Because you envision that's not going to be where it happens.
It shouldn't be easy.
Yeah, but yet, one was taken, I believe Adam Walsh was taken in a Sears, I believe it was.
Yeah, like a mall.
Yeah, his mom was going to continue shopping, and he's like, I just want to go play the video game system over here. But a public area, same with Michael Dunahee, a very public park with people all over the place.
The show brought thousands of tips from across North America. Michael's face was printed on cards and distributed to truck stops and bus depots all across the U.S. and Canada. His face was also printed on milk cartons, as was widespread practice at the time.
Yeah, I don't remember those, but...
I don't know if we ever had them in Canada, to tell you the truth, because I don't recall it.
I really think it was an American, U.S. Thing, because we'd see it in the media here. We'd always see like that, you'll end up on the back of a milk carton kind of expression, but I don't remember ever seeing one.
On April 8th, 1991, a New Jersey detective, having seen America's Most Wanted, called in to say he'd believed he'd seen Michael Dunahee at a convenience store in his state.
Eesh.
Cops began looking into the veracity of that tip as it had come from a police officer.
Yeah.
On April 10th, 1991, police began to focus more on the people at the football field that day and what they might have seen, re-interviewing everyone.
Yeah.
The Dunahees were blown away with the response Michael's case had gotten. Cards and letters of support were pouring in. New Jersey police were still investigating the possible sighting there.
Like, that's about as far. New Jersey is like the exact opposite side of the continent.
It's pretty far away.
Yeah. I've been there, and it's...
It is drivable, though, in a week and a bit.
Oh, not for me, but...
It definitely is.
But no, it definitely is without a doubt.
The Dunahees, their family and friends, kept their own command center to find Michael and keep the search active.
Mm-hmm.
As they searched, the reward for Michael's return grew to $80,000 by mid-April, not a month after his disappearance.
Yeah.
In the Vancouver Sun, another article, Bruce Dunahee gave more insight into Michael's personality. From the article, Michael may be dressed differently now, says his father, but he's got some characteristics that won't change quickly. He often rubs both his ears at the same time. And he likes to squat on his haunches, his forearms resting on his knees. And he's stubborn, says Dunahee. Good boy.
Yeah.
Things have got to be just so, especially with eating. The ketchup has to be in the right place on his plate. He loves his cartoons, DuckTales, Chip and Dale, and Disney cartoons. One of the posters, this one that we mentioned earlier, shows Michael holding a brace of trout. His grandfather took the picture when the two of them were camping at Lake Cowichan last year. The Dunahees loved to fish, and Michael was no exception. My dad rows the boat and my son catches the fish, says Bruce Dunahee, smiling for a moment, almost as if he expects to go fishing tomorrow. He is so patient in a boat, said the elder Dunahee. He's not like a fidgety kid. He'd sit in the boat with me for hours.
Oh, this just makes this even more difficult.
The Dunahees were not ready to give up, obviously, and employed others to stay vigilant in the search for their beautiful little boy.
Yeah, for sure. My God. I don't even know how I would ever sleep again.
Right.
Like, I can't.
But you'd have to, because you're no good to anybody if you are sick and upset yourself. You'd have to compose yourself at some point.
For sure. And I mean, I downplay my coping abilities, but you find out what you're really made of in times like that. But I really hope I never have to find out what I'm made of.
I hope you don't. Near the same New Jersey neighborhood as previous, on April 19, 1991, there was another potential sighting of Michael Dunahee. This time the man was described as black with a pockmarked face. A woman said she'd seen the boy with the man in a ShopRite store in Berlin Township. She approached the boy and asked him if his name was Michael Dunahee. The boy said, "I want to see my mommy."
Oh, wow. Okay.
The woman claimed she was 95% sure it was Michael. Police were again investigating this lead thoroughly. There were other leads too from all over Canada and the U.S., and lots of them here in the West.
Yeah.
This most recent sighting prompted America's Most Wanted to run Michael's story a second time with an update.
Yep.
2 men in a flatbed truck in neighboring Nanaimo were being sought for attempting to abduct 2 young girls in mid-April. However, it turned out there was no conclusive proof these 2 cases were related to Michael.
Yeah, well, I think any related occurrences
activity
is going to definitely
put up the flag.
Yeah, have the police and have the public questioning for sure. So it's really easy to kind of get pulled into those things, but we have to trust that the police are capable of ruling them out or including them.
On April 25th, 1991, the FBI got involved. Kate Lyons, now retired Ontario Provincial Police, was learning criminal profiling at Quantico at the time.
Oh, and that's the place to do it.
She was one of the first Canadian profiles, and this was one of her first cases.
Oh, wow.
You can learn more about Kate's cases in her book, Crime Scene, and that's scene spelled S-E-E-N. She ended up being involved in many different high-profile Canadian cases, including Kristen French, who was one of the victims of Paul Bernardo.
Oh, is she like Canada's John Douglas?
Well, John Douglas taught her.
Yeah.
I watched an interview where she talked about working with John Douglas.
I wanna look into this.
Yep, it's a good book.
Yeah.
Although the full details of the FBI profile of Michael Dunahee's abductor are mostly secret, as this is still an open case, some hints were given about the type of person that may have perpetrated this crime. The suspect was considered to be male. He may be married or living with a woman in the Victoria area. He may be a loner who hangs around playgrounds. He may be someone people were used to seeing out and about more often, but he may have been laying low at this time, waiting until he thought it was safe to come out again. If he was a loner, he could have been keeping Michael in his apartment and staying there with the boy. Police said they wanted people to report anyone who was acting abnormally around the time of Michael's disappearance. They asked employers to report someone not showing up for work or making excuses to be away around the time Michael Dunahee vanished.
I like that one.
They also said that people close to this individual, and this is a quote, people close to this individual will know he has some deep-rooted problem. They believed this man was more apt to attempt to lure older boys between 10 and 12, but saw Michael Dunahee as an opportunity. Michael Dunahee was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Statistics show just over 40% of stranger abductions are crimes of opportunity. Mine was.
Yeah, mine was groomed.
You were groomed, but mine was definitely an opportunity.
Yeah, it's an interesting profile.
It doesn't seem
very specific. It's pretty vague. It's pretty vague for sure. He could be a loner, or he could not be a loner.
Yeah,
not to knock the profile, because it's a very difficult thing to do if you try to get too specific and you're wrong.
Or there may have been more specifics that would have cleared all that up for us. That they just can't give us because it would identify something that they don't want to give away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm not knocking it, but just what was released was a bit vague. But I suspect that I highly suspect that this wasn't his first assault, anyways.
We'll post a link to the various type of lures that predators use to lure children in the show notes from missingkids.ca site, as well as explaining the type of lures. It gives teaching aids for how to talk with your kids about these and how they should deal with each one of them.
Yeah, I have these conversations frequently with my kids. They watch true crime shows with me.
Yeah.
At soon to be 9 and 11, and some people criticize me for that, but I want them to be aware of what is out there, but not live in fear at the same time.
You want them to be savvy.
I do, and they certainly are from it, and they're not traumatized or scared by watching these shows. We are having constant dialogue through it about what's happening, but I want them, and specifically child abduction related ones or child assault related ones, I want them to understand why we tell them to not do certain things.
We've seen the lures in many different true crime stories, like Ted Bundy's methods being the most famous, often playing injured to prey on the goodness of others to lure some unsuspecting co-ed. That was the lure that was used on me. It was the old, do you have the time trick? And it put me right in the monster's clutches, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So putting myself into this creep's head as briefly as I could, I'm wondering if this guy saw the kids playing hide and seek and watched where Michael went. Then he'd stroll up to Michael in his spot and say, hey, do you want a better place to hide? Come on over to my van, car, truck, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely think he was lured and not grabbed, because in that public, you don't want to risk the kid yelling or something. So it's got to be get him to where you want him to be.
Yeah, so a trusting 4-year-old would just happily bounce off thinking, what a great idea. This guy's going to give me a really good hiding space. My friends will never find me.
Yeah, no,
I'm pretty certain I'd have fallen for that as a kid.
Yeah, and or the thing I always go with my kids, because they just love animals, is it can very...
That old dog.
It can, exactly, like, hey, can you help me find my dog? Like,
yep.
So it's... Yeah, your hypothesis is a very plausible one.
Well, I did actually, while I was writing, remember getting into a car with a stranger one day when I was a kid.
Oh my God.
And so, I know, I'm still here, so clearly, but I remember it very vividly, actually, because I got in trouble.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. One day it's raining, and I'm walking home with my buddy Tim, and we've just left the elementary school. We can't have been any more than 7 years old. And this lady pulls up and opens her door and says, "Come on, guys, get in." And without question, Tim hops in, and I hop in.
Yeah.
And this lady drove us home, like dropped Tim off at his place, and then dropped me off at my place. And Mom said she sees this car come pulling out of the yard, and like, it's not a familiar car. And she says, "Who was that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, just a lady that dropped me off."
Whew.
And let's just say I caught hell.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It was because I couldn't identify this person. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I got the talking to about strangers. So immediately Mom is on the phone calling Tim's parents. Tim listens to this podcast, so he may remember this. He may not, because it wasn't a big deal to him because he knew the person.
Oh, he did?
Out. Yeah.
Oh.
So Mom's on the phone to Tim's mom and saying what's going on. And it turns out that the lady who drove me home was none other than the wife of Provincial Court Justice Joseph P. Kennedy, who later went on to become the Chief Justice of Nova Scotia Supreme Court. And he's adjudicated many of the high-profile criminal cases in that province.
Whew.
Yeah, so
wow.
I couldn't have been in a safer car.
No kidding, but
it did teach me a lesson about being sure I knew the people who were offering me a ride.
Well,
so thank you, Mrs. Kennedy, if you ever hear this, for giving me a drive home. But I did get in shit that day because I didn't know who you were at the time.
As you should have.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're up there in age, so we're talking about probably the 70s.
Absolutely.
And so, not to say that it was okay, but there wasn't as great an awareness at all.
I hitchhiked in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. But I also get very pissed off when I hear people talk about like, oh, it wasn't like this in the old days, and now kids are terrified, and it wasn't like this in the old. Oh, sure it was. I was molested in the old days.
So was I.
So it's like, no, it's not. There were no glorious old days when nobody was being abused.
No, it just nobody was talking about it.
Exactly.
Because it was a badge of shame, and
I never reported it. Like, no. It's absolutely. It's not like there was like some utopia back then. Shit was happening. We just didn't have the resources to make it as public as we do now.
Well, back to the case. We've digressed far enough. The profile of the offender in Michael Dunahee's disappearance went on to say the person would most likely reoffend again and go back to hanging around schoolyards and playgrounds once he felt safe again.
Yeah.
I know my monster did because I saw him near the school.
Oh, terrifying. And I'm sure mine did.
Yeah. On May 12th, 1991, Michael's 5th birthday, a special mass was held downtown Victoria, and another vigil of over 100 candles was held in downtown Vancouver at Robson Square.
Yeah.
Bruce Dunahee said Michael's birthday was the hardest day yet.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Yeah, he's supposed to be there for that.
Oh.
Yeah. On May 28th, videotape surfaced with what appeared to be Michael in a convenience store on the island.
Yeah, I remember.
It was quickly determined it wasn't him, but again, the hopes of the Dunahees were raised and dashed against the shore.
Got to be just a constant roller coaster.
Yeah, and that's what I got from writing this, is that it had to be like, it's up and it's down, and it's up and it's down. And I don't like roller coasters. Roller coasters scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, well, they are terrifying. And I mean, even just basic things like, did I get this job or didn't I, are a roller coaster enough, let alone
panic about where your child is.
Exactly. Like, yeah. Well, it gets no more extreme than that, in my opinion.
Police were also cautious about the New Jersey sightings. 3 months after Michael Dunahee's disappearance, America's Most Wanted ran the story for a third time.
Oh, wow.
In August, 3 FBI behavioral scientists, profilers, came to Victoria. Police at the time were saying that they had some very real suspects and they wanted to eliminate a few. They've never publicly named them, though. So it makes it tough. I mean, I guess they can't because it's Canada. You can't do that.
Yeah, no.
Or say we think this person allegedly did this.
But you think it would get out, though, because if police are questioning so-and-so's friend over and over, your friend might be like, hey, they keep asking us about,
Yeah.
You would think it would get out. But no, interesting, they never did.
The articles in the paper started to peter off as there was not a lot of new information about Michael's disappearance.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, the Dunahees kept up their bid to keep his story fresh in people's minds, contacting People magazine and Time magazine to do articles about the case. In mid-September, a jacket matching the one Michael had been last seen in appeared at a restaurant near Caslow in the BC interior.
Oh.
And just an aside, Caslow is the home to my old boss in the movie biz and fan of the show, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
The jacket was claimed 2 weeks later by a mother whose daughter had left it behind.
Oh.
Another dead end.
Yeah.
And just another
hopes and then shattered.
Dipsy-do on the roller coaster. In October, several psychics were using information sent by the Dunahees as well as Michael's T-shirts to help. We all know how Scott feels about psychics, but putting myself in the shoes of Michael's parents, I'd have done the same. I mean...
Oh, well, clearly, for sure. If that would happen, I would explore absolutely every possibility that might help me find my kid. So
sure.
I would not shun them away, but
you would think they're quacks the whole time.
I currently do, and would. Yeah. Poppycock.
The tips continued to roll in as 1991 came to a close, with no sign of the young boy anywhere. The reward at that time was $200,000. What happened to Michael? Let's look at the day that it all went down. So between 12:30 and 1 p.m., Michael Dunahee goes missing.
Yep. Shivers, yeah. So it was a half an hour time span
it's probably even less.
Yeah.
Police are notified between 20 and 40 minutes after Bruce discovers Michael is nowhere to be found.
Immediately your reaction is going to be run around. Let's see if we can find him. Shout his name.
And I'm sure that's what happened.
We lost Violet in the mall once, and that's what I did, and as opposed to immediately police. So for sure, it makes total sense.
What could have gone on in that amount of time? If the perp was local, as the police seem to be indicating, it'd be easy to spirit the boy into a home or apartment nearby the school at 950 Kings Road.
Or an abandoned location, absolutely.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, why has there never been a sighting of him, a definitive sighting of Michael Dunahee in Victoria?
Well, I mean, let's go with the hypothetical of maybe he was taken and brought to a home. It's not like if the person's got a carport or a garage, all this difficult part is getting him into the vehicle. And then you pull into a garage where the door closes, nobody will see him. Like it's not that ridiculous to have him not be seen, but you would think neighbors would hear. So like it's crazy to think about.
But what I'm thinking is, I think it might have been somebody who was leaving the island. Now just bear with me a second.
I'll bear.
I can't see somebody from out of the area just stumbling onto the perfect abduction victim. Why would they would need a reason to be in that neighborhood. That neighborhood is it's a little bit off the beaten touristy path kind of thing. So maybe, and I don't know, I'm just speculating.
Yep.
This was someone visiting family or friends in the area and just happened to see this small child who they thought might be an easy target as they were leaving for the weekend.
I think quite the opposite, due to the fact that so a crime like this, it most likely would be this individual's first, or we'd hear some parallel ones, but I would imagine it would be their first. You're not going to perpetrate a huge crime like that, like abduction, in an area you're unfamiliar with, because you're going to want to know escape routes. You're going to want to know all these kind of things.
But maybe they're from the area. Maybe they just live elsewhere now. Maybe they live on the mainland. Maybe they live in Seattle.
It's a possibility. I just think that would be too high a risk. You could go back to where you're from and abduct a kid as opposed to take one and you ship them across. But anything is a possibility. The ferries out here, by the way, for people hold hundreds of cars. Yeah. So it's not like some tiny little, like our ferries are massive out here. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hour ferry ride to the mainland. So
the Schwartz Bay Ferry Terminal is a 32-minute drive from the school.
Okay.
The one in Duke Point in Nanaimo is an hour and 45 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
However, the ones to Seattle and Port Angeles are 8 minutes away.
Wow, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the border is pretty porous thing back in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Late 80s. We didn't need a passport.
Yeah.
They didn't even really look in your trunk.
Yeah.
It was just like,
No, it was.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it was.
Have a nice time in Canada. Have a nice time in the U.S.
A hell of a lot easier to pass through the border.
Yeah. So who's to say, that didn't happen? And it would have been easier to carry somebody away on the ferry because they allowed you to sit in your car at that time.
Yep.
You could just sit in the car with the kid the whole time.
Yep. Me thinking about that and trying to put myself in the perpetrator's shoes, I just think it's too high risk. It would be not something you want to experience. Could they have been there, as you say, and then gone somewhere and done something and then go back home on the ferry? Possibly. But I just think it had to be somebody local. It's too high a risk to try to take them onto a ferry and stuff. But
so if it's local though, somebody would see Michael Dunahee around the neighborhood.
You would think so. But
or
a vast majority of abductions are done locally, and that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's those ones where, people have kept somebody in a house for years and years and years.
Yep, exactly.
That kind of stuff. The stuff that happened in Ohio to those girls in Ohio.
Yes.
What a horrific thing that was. Maybe he's a trusted traveler. Maybe it's a trucker.
That's a distinct possibility for sure.
But if you think about the neighborhood too, now come to think of it,
a big truck going by.
A big truck would have stuck out like a sore thumb in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true.
So
unless it was parked a block or so away. Yeah.
I don't know. Like what I'm trying to wrap my little pea brain around is the profilers aren't typically wrong.
No.
They give the sense that Michael is still around.
Yeah, I always got that feeling that was something that...
And his family thoroughly believes that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Crystal and Bruce, and now Caitlin Dunahee, have done an amazing job of keeping Michael's case alive. Every few years, they'll release an age-progressed photo of Michael.
Yep.
You'll see those on the website, michaeldunahee.ca. You can learn tons and tons of stuff about the case there. And they have a walk/run called the Michael Dunahee Keep Hope Alive Drive every spring.
Oh, wow.
And that's dedicated to raising funds for child find and keeping awareness of Michael Dunahee that has been held every year since his disappearance.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be the 28th annual Family 5K walk/run through the beautiful streets of Esquimalt on Sunday, March 24th, 2019 at 9 a.m. They're already planning for it, Interestingly, when I did my cross-country drive this past year, I dipped down into the States, went through Montana, and there I stopped at the old Deer Lodge State Prison where some people believe the Zodiac may have done time.
Yep.
It's a really great museum. If you can ever get to it, I absolutely recommend it, 100%. If you've never been inside a prison and don't want to commit a crime to get there, this is probably the best way you can go about it. One of the rooms, just off the main staircase leading out of one of the cell blocks, is full on all four walls with posters of missing and wanted people. And as you enter the room, 1,100 kilometers from where we're sitting right now, the first face you see in the middle of the wall is Michael Dunahee's, and I took a photo of it that I'm showing Scott here.
Oh, wow.
And I'll use that as the artwork to accompany this episode. Yeah, like it really struck me when I turned and there's this face that I've seen so many times.
Yeah.
And he was, honestly, it was the last face I was expecting to see in Montana.
Yeah.
But
it shows the level of importance behind this little Canadian town.
Yeah, and also it shows Crystal Dunahee, his mother, her persistence.
Yes.
Has been amazing throughout these last 28 years.
Yeah.
Everyone in the Dunahee family seems to have this, I don't know, like amazing ability to just carry on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have that. I'd begun to really, I don't know if I could carry it that far.
Well, and that's the thing. We don't know until we're in that situation, and I hope we never are. But I have, like, my heart is just with that family. Like, for them to still be here and pushing hard to find their son, I just have the utmost amount of love and respect for them.
So here's a weird thing.
Oh.
In late 2008, a man named Vernon Seitz in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, admitted to murdering 2 children in the 1950s. He told his psychiatrist that he'd killed 2 kids.
Okay.
Upon a search of his home, they found some disturbing things, including one of Michael Dunahee's missing posters. He'd apparently been obsessed with the abduction and murder of Jacob Wetterling in 1989. And here's a list of what investigators found according to a blog I found, but I was unable to corroborate this elsewhere, but we'll go ahead. There's some weird stuff here. Children's shoes. 1 shoe was 2.5. 1 shoe was 3.5. Both contained DNA. They were sent for testing.
Oh.
Both. There were books on cannibalism.
Oh, no.
A small round bone with the marrow sucked out of it. This was also sent for testing. I don't know if it was human or not, so don't assume it.
No, still uncomfortable either way.
Brown patches of human hair, blonde patches of human hair, black patches of human hair, rings and necklaces, a flesh-colored candle with a catheter attached covered with a brown substance.
What the hell?
I don't know what that is. Bondage straps and chains hanging from inner rafters of the home.
Oh, my God.
Handcuffs, box full of negatives sent to be developed, pictures of unknown children, a picture of a boy holding a fish dated 1959, Illinois road map with 2 locations circled, a map of Millstream Park, location near where Jacob Wetterling's abduction took place, photos, paintings, and drawing of children being sexually tortured.
Oh, God.
A novel by the man called Innocent Rage, and a .38 caliber gun. There were also many newspaper articles, posters, and laminated photos, some notes on cardboard boxes of the following missing people and children: Sandy Bertolas, Cora Jones, Michael Wayne Dunahee, Melissa Lee Brannon. At the time of Sitz's confession, Jacob Wetterling's murder was yet unsolved.
Okay.
However, in 2016, another man admitted that he had done it and showed police where the body was. So it wasn't the Seitz guy. But before Seitz could be grilled thoroughly about any other potential crimes, he died. Seitz's family claimed he'd been a psychic, and he was trying to help families, which might explain some of these things that he had in his possession. Might. Okay. I'm saying might. I didn't say would.
No, for sure.
And interestingly, Crystal Dunahee said that this man was familiar to her, that he, as a psychic, had reached out to her to help.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, I still have to question, like, those drawings that were found in photos of children.
Kids,
you know.
It's awful.
Yeah, it gives me some skepticism but it's just bizarre.
Very bizarre. There were no links between Seitz's admission to the 1950 murders and any other crimes, including the disappearance of Michael Dunahee. Nothing has turned up.
Okay, so...
in 2011, Michael Dunahee's case helped to launch the missingkids.ca site. This was Crystal being driven by her tireless efforts to find Michael. She became an advocate for missing children. She's now the president of Child Find BC.
Oh, good for her.
And a board member of Child Find Canada. And she was instrumental in launching this site and michaeldunahee.ca.
Yeah.
And Crystal was given the Order of British Columbia for her work in the community in 2011.
Man. This woman's amazing.
Caitlin, Michael's sister, she runs the We Will Never Forget Michael Dunahee page on Facebook, so the whole family's involved.
Wow.
In 2013, a Surrey man who said he had no memory before the 1st grade believed there was a possibility he could be Michael Dunahee. Do you remember this?
I don't.
I do. There was a little bit of a resemblance to the age progressed photos. Oh. And however, after DNA testing, it was determined that this man was not, in fact, Michael Dunahee.
Thank you, DNA.
Last year, the Victoria PD made their annual post about Michael's disappearance near the anniversary.
Yep.
And it said, tomorrow marks the 27th anniversary of Michael Dunahee's disappearance. 4-year-old Michael Dunahee went missing from Blanchard Elementary School on March 24th, 1991. Michael was last seen around 12:30 p.m. in the area of the school playground. Michael's disappearance spawned one of the largest police investigations in Canadian history. To this day, we continue to receive tips, and investigators assigned to the file believe that the one tip we need to solve Michael's disappearance is still out there. Officers remain committed to this investigation and continue to investigate Michael's disappearance. If anyone has information about Michael Dunahee's disappearance, they can contact Vic PD's dedicated tip line at 250-995-7444, or to remain anonymous, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS or 8477. I would love for the safe return of Michael Dunahee, above all.
Yes.
In a CBC interview in 2013, Crystal Dunahee said, "In a mother's heart, I still believe he's out there somewhere, and we hope so too."
Absolutely.
Maybe next year, having been found alive and well, Michael can do that post on the Vic PD's website, saying thank you to everybody who's been seeking him for all these years. Can you imagine?
Oh my God!
There are those cases where the families have been reunited. Yep. We mentioned the girls in Ohio.
Yep.
There's J.C. Dugard.
Yep.
Elizabeth Smart.
Yep.
Stephen Stainer from I Know My Name is Stephen. Maybe his story isn't quite as uplifting as some toward the end, but Michael could also be thinking he's adopted somewhere, like Steve Carter, a guy from the U.S. From ABC News, Steve Carter thought he was adopted. He didn't know he was listed missing for decades. Carter, a software salesman in Philadelphia, was adopted from a foster home in Honolulu when he was 4 years old. In 2010, he found himself on a missing children's website. It was confirmed that he was actually Mark's Panama Moriarty Barnes. His biological mother had disappeared with him as an infant 34 years prior. As an adopted person myself, I can confirm that curiosity is a big part in dealing with that.
Oh, I would imagine so.
The question of connection to your birth family is always on your mind.
Yeah.
Perhaps Michael is out there wondering somewhere, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm adopted or whatever. DNA is a way you can learn more.
Yep.
Perhaps in an effort to discover his own roots, Michael, now 32, has done something like 23andMe or MyHeritage or one of those sites.
Yeah, as soon as we started this, it was one of the first thoughts I had is that would be something incredible.
Imagine the joy of the Dunahee family, you know, Caitlin or Crystal putting their DNA up on one of these sites and saying, "Here's your son."
Yeah.
You know, like, boom, it's that fast. I'm sure the smart folks at Victoria PD are all over that already, but I can't imagine the joy that they would find.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, look at the Zodiac, look at the Ears On. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's
never thought that would be caught. He would be caught or solved.
Yep.
And boom, it was because of that technology. And it would be great to see some more positive come from this readily available technology now.
If you want to learn more about the Michael Dunahee case, go to michaeldunahee.ca. Or if you want to learn more about what to teach your kids and what to do if perish a thought one of them goes missing, the site Crystal assisted with missingkids.ca is a wonderful resource. Yeah. We'll post links to all of those in the show notes.
It's a fantastic resource. I recommend every parent and just every adult go and check it out.
So that's it for this week's episode. Welcome back, Scott.
Yeah, I'm glad we started with something light. It's welcome back, Scott.
Yeah, that was not light by any means.
No, but this is it's a pretty monumental and important case in Western Canadian history, if not Canadian.
Well, we are going to try and take on some more of the monumental cases in Canadian history as things go on. There's going to be a few that people have been screaming for us to do that we're probably going to continue to avoid. But then there are other ones that now I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of reading and research, so we have some biggies coming up.
But I think when we first started, we talked about that a lot, and those big cases get enough coverage. So we were they weren't ones we felt we needed to jump into for the most part. We wanted to cover cases and events that might not have as much
coverage.
And so, but yeah.
Or ones like the Wesley Hallam case that had zero coverage.
Yes.
Like outside of the Sioux.
Yes.
And that was one of the most fascinating cases that I think we've done.
Yes, and we got a lot of feedback on that one. And exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm totally down to throw in some. So
we'll do some of the Canadian heavy hitters.
Yeah.
This year. 2019 is going to be a big year for this podcast, and we're going to have some multiple part sort of series things that we do.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
Damn Skippy.
Before we go, we want to give some shout outs to our Patreon patrons. And Happy New Year to everybody, first of all.
Happy New Year.
This week's good eggs are, this is an interesting spelling, it's asparagus with 3 Z's. And yes, so asparagus is...
Oh, thank you, asparagus.
Yeah. And we don't know where asparagus is from.
But
I could tell you, I could smell it.
Oh.
When I went pee-pee.
Oh. Ayo. Oh, boo.
Gabe Hendrickson from St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Hey, Gabe.
Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, Gabe.
Angel Rogers from Fletcher, North Carolina. Somebody else from, they must like my North Carolina when I do that.
If that's the case, Angel, let us know if it's because of Mike's accent.
It's probably because of your lack of one.
What? My Canadian accent.
Andy, who didn't leave where he lives, so I said he's from somewhere in the wilds of Canada.
Oh, yeah, he's probably foraging for...
In Nunavut.
Yeah, oh, sure.
Maybe he's a rugged individualist or something.
Yeah. We've created your identity, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Elizabeth Hine from Chicago, Illinois, where we will be in July. Oh, so, Elizabeth,
come see us.
Hello.
Yep.
And
Hi.
maybe you get to shake our hands in July. That would be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
Kelly Keene from Snoqualmie, Washington, and that's one of my favorite name places to say. Snoqualmie.
It is a great name and a great place. And welcome, Kelly. Thank you.
Betsy DeLong, and she's from somewhere out there as well.
We can make up a life for her as well.
Okay, Betsy DeLong.
I think that she's
what is
environmental scientist.
She's an environmental scientist.
Yeah, living out of Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
She's 37.
And she has 1 foot longer than the other, thus the name DeLong.
Well, and everybody knows that about her.
Right.
That's a gimme. She loves bubblegum. Yeah.
So, Betsy, if that's really the case, great. If it's not, we hope we didn't offend you at all.
I'm pretty much a profiler.
Katie Moore from Calgary, Alberta.
Hey, Katie.
Diana Staresnik Dean from Ottawa, Kansas.
Oh, that threw a curveball my way.
Ottawa, Kansas.
Diana, why are you confusing me like that?
Nancy Eves. No address given, so we have to do it for Nancy.
Yeah, no, totally. So Nancy Eves, her job is she actually cleans out eaves.
I wish she'd come do ours because when it rains, we can't do the podcast.
Yeah, and it is completely coincidental that that's her career because she got married into that name.
Oh,
and her job was cleaning out eaves.
What was her name prior?
Shuswap.
Nancy Shuswap Eves.
Yep. Yeah, but this is married, and she's actually 6'7" too.
Wow,
which really helped in her career choice.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Oh, I get you, because then she just has to reach up and scoop.
Well, doesn't have to climb as high. It's much better for safety.
Yeah, I'm little.
Center of gravity.
You and I would both probably die on a roof somewhere.
I'd probably blow away. I'd be one of the leaves.
Well, at least I wouldn't blow away. I know I wouldn't.
Well, then you.
But there'd be a sliding and a big splat on the ground.
So I hope we're accurate with this, Nancy.
I'm fairly certain we're not.
Oh, I think I nailed it.
Kristen Clark from Clinton, Illinois. Illinois. I don't know how close Clinton is to Chicago.
I don't know either.
However, Kristen, we will be in Chicago in July.
Just saying, Kristen.
Just saying. Paige D. from London, Ontario.
Oh, Paige.
Also, Harry Sims demanded a thank you from Scott as well.
Yeah, Harry. He's very active in the Yumber Yard.
He's a good
and
guy.
I'm enjoying his posts. So, hey, Harry, I big thank you to you.
Now, I'm not saying any of these people are this has happened with, but of note, I've never seen so many declined credit cards as I did this month in the Patreon software.
I wonder why.
Well, it's because it's Christmas
the holidays, time. Everybody's going bankrupt buying their kids crap.
So everybody goes right to the edge at Christmas time, and then they can't afford to pay Dark Poutine.
No, that's fine. Hey, if it meant that you got your loved ones, or you just bought yourself a TV.
Exactly.
Have at it.
Yeah, if the kids had fun, that's all that matters to us.
Yeah.
We'll live.
Bought yourself
or not. We'll be out on the street.
Bought yourself some new clogs with that Christmas money.
Clogs.
Yeah.
Crocs, maybe.
Boo, I hate those.
They make my feet stink.
Oh, I loathe those shoes.
Thank you so much to our patrons, past and present, for your pledges. We really appreciate your support of the show. If you want to help support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/darkpoutine, or for a one-time support, you can send us some donut money at PayPal at our email address, darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com. And we actually did get some PayPal money this week. Katie Moore, who we mentioned up above, also sent some cash to PayPal. And she messaged me to let me know it was her and it wasn't a mistake. And so thanks.
You're
wow.
Spectacular.
A double whammy from Katie. Betty Ruth Brown, no relation to me. She sent us some dough, as did Stacy White. Thank you so much.
Oh, Betty and Stacy, thank you guys.
Well, that's it. Check out our website, www.darkpoutine.com, for show notes and other cool stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Dark Poutine and tell your friends about us. Especially fun is the Umber Yard. We've talked enough about that.
Yes, we have.
You can subscribe to us in your favorite podcatcher, iTunes, Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, or wherever you get your on-demand audio. And that's it. Until next week, don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Bye-bye, everybody.
A good bye and Happy New Year.
Toodaloo.